Now, without any further delay, I would like to turn today's live meeting over to your moderator today, Era Trembley, founder, Era Trembley, the Insurance Tech Consultant. Era, you have the floor.
Well, thanks very much, and thanks everyone for sticking with us through that little bit of technical difficulty. We welcome you to today's web seminar, EBPP Enabled Billing Systems Launch Customer Service to a New Level. My name is Era Trembley, and as you heard, I am the founder of Era Trembley, the Insurance Tech Consultant. I've been around the insurance industry quite a while, a writer, marketing professional, public speaker on technology before that, since 1982, believe it or not, and formerly the technology editor and blogger for National Underwriter, and right now a blogger for Insurance Networking News. So I encourage you to come see me there. Meanwhile, let's start talking about our subject today, and that is billing systems. It's really customer-facing systems. When you think about it, there's nothing more important and more sensitive than our customer-facing systems, especially in times like these when every sale counts, every premium counts, and every customer counts. So, we're going to talk today a little bit about how you can launch that aspect of customer service to a new level and hopefully improve your bottom line as well. Let me remind you that we do want you to ask questions. Please, to do that, just click on the Q&A pane, type a question in the type a question for the presenter field, and then click the Ask button and use your scroll button to scroll to your answer if necessary. So with that, and again, please, you can ask questions any time during the presentation. With that, I want to bring us to our first speaker, who is Karlyn Carnahan. Karlyn is a CPCU, is principal in Novarica's insurance practice, focused on e-business, marketing, and IT planning. She recently served as Vice President of Marketing for Fireman's Fund Commercial Lines Division, where she successfully launched several programs, expanded online customer self-service capabilities, and took a lead position in formulating IT strategy. She also served as Global Industry Manager for Sun Microsystems and Senior Vice President of the product development for Hinsweb. Earlier in her career, she held a variety of marketing and underwriting positions at NorCal and Fireman's Fund. She holds an MBA from Stanford Business School and a certified property casualty underwriter designation. Karlyn, take it away.
Thanks, Era. I am Karlyn Carnahan, and I work with a company called Novarica. We are retained advisors to ensure senior executives in IT and operations. We publish research on business trends, technology trends, and best practices, primarily in insurance and now in wealth management as well. One of the things that we do is we focus on peer group behaviors, and you'll see some information about that in my presentation. We moderate a panel, the Novarica Insurance Technology Research Council, which is a community of over 100 now, senior executives in IT and operations in the insurance industry. We're a division of Novantas, which is a leading financial services management firm out of New York. So let me go ahead and get started here. I want to start by talking about the market. I mean, any of you who are insurers know that it's still not good, is it? The economy has really impacted the insurance industry, and in fact, our growth rates now are the slowest since the 1930s. Even this forecasted improvement in 2009 does not make up for the loss that we've seen in 2007 and 2008. And what this means is that retention becomes critical. Premiums are down as our customers' payrolls are down, as revenues are down, as property values are down. So more important than ever, retaining customers and really having a very strong brand proposition, value proposition to try and attract new customers. So that gets into this next question of, well, how do you retain your customers? How do you obtain new customers? It's marketing. Marketing is critical. And we've seen some major trends that are happening right now. Obviously changing demographics. And I promise you this is not one of my children here. But this is the new customer for the insurance industry. Clearly one of the biggest demographic issues in society is the baby boomers. 76 million folks, all born in a similar age range, but the baby boomers are aging, and Generation X and Generation Y are really becoming more prominent. and yet they have very different expectations for us. The generation X and Y, as you'll see a little further on, are much more savvy technically and have very different views of how they should be working with a company and what levels of services should be provided as part of customer service. Other demographic changes, ethnicity. Caucasians are projected to become only 60% of the U.S. population, down from 77% by 2011. Family status, more and more families have dual career couples. People do not have a lot of time to spend at home doing research, doing things in ways that are non-electronic. We also have a much higher level of educational achievement and a better economic status overall. So some major changes in the demographics of the customers that we're selling to. Other trends, going green. We hear a lot about going green, but what's actually happening is customers are voting with their wallets, and they are making choices based on organizations who have strong environmental messages and can demonstrate environmental savviness. Other trends in the marketing area, there's got to be more focus on the existing clients as opposed to attracting new clients. Customer service is becoming a much more critical component of ongoing marketing, partly because of the expense of obtaining new customers. And that focus on existing clients is driving an increase in personalization. Relationships matter. Even if you have a large number of customers, customers want to feel like they matter to you and that you have the ability to speak directly to them. However, we have a huge opportunity to compromise our brand by delivering poor quality, by delivering inaccurate data, because the expectations are so much higher than they used to be. And the last major trend to talk about, which is a very significant one in the insurance industry, is a shift to online. So here's some data that I pulled from the December results from the Pew Internet and American Life, just looking at generational differences in online activities. We tend to have this perception that the older generation is not online. That's not true. If you take a look, even the silent generation, the 64 to 72, over half of them are going online today. And as you move down the age range, more and more individuals are online, and they're online for a variety of reasons. What I find very interesting is that the Generation X, the 33 to 44-year-olds, at 80% are the most likely to be buying something online. I mean, you would think maybe Generation Y would be more comfortable doing that. They tend to not buy as much online simply because they're still too young to have credit cards. Banking online, similar thing. But what you see are enormous shifts from 10 years ago in people's level of comfort with performing different tasks online, and this drives their expectations as well. It's no different in the insurance industry. In fact, the Internet traffic to the insurance industry has absolutely skyrocketed with 137% growth over 4 years. And this is particularly extraordinary given that the web itself is only growing at 3 to 4% a year. So what you're seeing is more and more people are expecting and demanding to transact online. So what does billing have to do with any of that? Huh? I mean, all interesting stuff that's very marketing focused, but what does billing have to do with it? But billing, frankly, is the most frequent touch point you have with your best customers. And I define best as those customers that you're not talking to about claims. Billing gives you the opportunity to create your brand, to manage it, to fulfill it, and to strengthen the promise of convenience and trust. But it's also the opportunity to compromise that brand. When you have poor services, when you have inaccurate data, when it is difficult for a customer to understand the bill or difficult for them to transact, that degrades that brand promise of convenience and trust. On the other hand, it can be a very powerful tool for delivering personalized content, for delivering promotions, for shaping the experience, creating relevant and meaningful interactions, including relevant cross-sell messages, including relevant tips, particularly during hurricane season or tornado season for those in the Midwest, fire season down in California. it can become a very powerful tool to strengthen and build a relationship. And frankly, the bill is a symbol of quality. Insurance is a promise to perform someday, maybe, and we all hope that we don't have to perform. Nobody wants a claim. So you can't really demonstrate the quality of your service before someone has purchased the product. All you can really do is create symbols of that can demonstrate to a customer quality in other types of transactions that they will then interpret as symbolizing the quality that they should come to expect in a claim. So the bill itself is a symbol of quality. A billing problem is a reason to start shopping. And in today's market, highly competitive market, very slow growth, there are a lot of people who are ready to look for your customer. So typical problems that we see with billing systems, and a big point here, billing systems are particularly important because they touch virtually everything else. They touch your policy admin, they touch general ledger, they touch the commission systems, even the claim systems. So one of the biggest problems that you see are when you have multiple billing systems and a single customer gets multiple bills. They come at different times of the month. It confuses them. I thought I paid this. It can become very difficult to locate customer information. Imagine the scenario where the customer calls up a customer service rep with a question about the bill. And the customer service rep looks in the billing system, doesn't find them, remembers, oh yeah, this type might be in a different billing system, goes and looks there, finds it, resolves the problem, thinks that she's resolved the problem, closes it out. The customer believes that everything is done. Next month the bill comes and it looks like nothing has changed, and because a batch system had already transacted, and so the change that the customer service rep input didn't happen. Those kinds of inconsistent processes, these customer service problems, create a lot of ill will in the eyes of a customer. Other problems with multiple billing systems, difficult to consolidate the premium into a single invoice, and it's very expensive to maintain. You have training for customer service reps for different systems. You need to have different levels of IT resources, different skill levels for the different systems, and you're also spending money on multiple maintenance contracts. In addition, they create, the different billing systems can create an enormous amount of complexity both for agents and policyholders. You'll get many complaints from agents when systems encounter exception conditions or behave in an unexpected way. Very frustrating, particularly with the older sisters, to have little or no support for external access. Again, we have become a world of Internet users. People expect to be able to access these online. And an inability to change billing plans during the policy period, another typical problem. So when you have older technologies, those create their own additional problems. Very difficult to quickly deploy new billing plans. A lack of flexibility, and this is actually kind of interesting, this whole issue around payment types. Older plans have very difficult times, have a very difficult time handling credit cards or the electronic bill presentment. In fact, in a recent survey, less than half the carriers out there can support credit card payments, and less than a third can accept debit cards. And yet, some of the additional data that we have seen is that some of the larger online personal insurance carriers state that they are currently taking in over 5% of total premiums through online credit card payments. So people want to do this. Older technology is very difficult and expensive to maintain, difficult to add additional functionality. In fact, over a quarter of the carriers report that it's so difficult to modify their billing system, they just don't even bother to try anymore. Poor reporting capabilities, very difficult to get the data. And frankly, the data that is available in your billing system can be used in underwriting and in marketing. Limited support for targeted invoice messaging, and the extensive manual entry can lead to a lot of inaccuracies and customer disputes. So what are CIOs doing? This is a survey that was done late last year with a number of CIOs in the insurance industry, and what you see is that 26% of the property casualty CIOs who were surveyed say that they have significant new projects coming out in the billing area. 14% are working on improvements. 14% are evaluating them. So over half of the CIOs who were surveyed are working on billing right now. What are the primary drivers of replacing the billing system? Typically what we see is that a new billing system hits the top of the priority list when a new line of business is being launched, or when a carrier is shifting to a new structure. We're going to go to direct bill, or supporting a new channel, in particular going online, or needing to support new payment types. So a number of reasons that people are looking at them. What are the must-haves in a billing system today? In terms of the technology, absolutely you have to have fully web-enabled functionality, and you've got to be able to integrate with those existing applications or legacy systems. In terms of functionality, billing systems should have support for both personal and commercial lines, and for both direct and agency bill. They also should have automated workflow processing, the ability to unify that customer view and provide a single bill. Clearly support for multiple jurisdictional compliance in the cancellations, particularly for non-payment, the ability to handle multiple payment types, and the self-service capability on the Internet, both the online payments and the online invoices and commissions. So that gets us into kind of where we're really at with this webinar today, which are the electronic bill presentment. And there are huge benefits to going to the electronic bill presentment and payment. And first of all, let's talk about cash application. Improved cash flow, getting that payment in faster. Although you might say it's only 20 days, 30 days faster, when you're talking about millions of dollars, that 20 or 30 days makes a huge difference. In addition, you've been able to automate or to simplify your cash reconciliation, so fewer people hours are necessary to make that happen, and being done in an automated fashion makes the cash reconciliation often more accurate. You can decrease your lockbox fees, and having the automated payment validation and fraud prevention can reduce a number of payment problems very quickly. You put your credit card in, gosh, I didn't realize that it expired. I'm going to fix it immediately here online, as opposed to sending information in and waiting for it to get into the system in a more manual process. Operationally, electronic bill presentment significantly reduces your transaction costs, again, because you don't have people involved, and you've lowered your print and your mailing costs. You have fewer customer service calls when people can look online and see the status of their bill. And providing the last-minute payment options can reduce the cancellation reinstate, which, again, reduces your costs. Right? Somebody realizes, oh, my gosh, the bill is due tomorrow. If they try and handle it through the mail, there's no way they're going to make that deadline. But being able to go online and handle it instantly means that not only have you collected your money faster, but you have avoided the expense of canceling and rewriting a policy. All of this improves customer satisfaction. They have a better customer choice. It's open all hours of the day, and again, going back to some of the marketing changes with so many dual career families, being able to do things late at night become more important. They feel that it's a more immediate and a more reliable application of payment to their account. When they see it happening online, they know that it's happened. Once you set up a recurring payment as well, you actually increase your retention. It's a little bit harder for people to switch. Plus, they don't have to think about it as much. One of the things that you see with homeowners insurance, for example, when that's put on an escrow plan, retention is significantly higher. Similar thing with electronic bill payment. When you can get it on a recurring automatic payment, the retention goes up. This also provides you with a huge cross-selling and upselling potential, and it gives you access to customer email addresses, which is something that many carriers have a difficult time getting. And lastly, big benefit, go green. You're going to cut paper and become more environmentally savvy. So electronic bill presentment has enormous benefits to it, but not every carrier is in a position to replace their billing system in order to get electronic bill presentment. So what are your options here? Clearly, the most logical option is, well, I'm going to replace my billing system. But you don't have to do that. There are other solutions to this, and I believe that's part of what we'll be talking about today, other solutions that you can use to expose the billing in an electronic manner and reap the benefits of electronic bill payment without having to replace your legacy systems. Bottom line, billing, huge issue in customer service, and gives you enormous capabilities for building and strengthening your brand. You need to have electronic bill presentment if you're going to facilitate any kind of online straight-through processing with customer self-service. And by doing that, you'll improve your operational efficiencies, reduce your costs, and leverage that common data model. Last thing I do want to touch on very briefly is this opportunity to mine the customer data using payment and collection history. It's very difficult today in most of the older systems to really pull good data out about how people are paying, which type of people are paying in which manner. But by using online tools, you have an ability to capture additional data, correlate the demographics of your customers with the payment types, with the payment behaviors, and potentially use that in your underwriting and in your new product development. So some enormous benefits here. And with that, I believe my support portion is done. If you do have questions around this portion of the presentation, please feel free to contact me. My phone and my email address are here. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Era.
All right, Karlyn, thanks very much. Great information there. And before we go on to our next speaker, we have a question for you, our audience. The question is, which of these is the key driver for an EBPP system at your organization? Okay, and your choices are reducing operational costs, cross-selling and upselling opportunities, reducing cash flow cycle times, increasing customer satisfaction, brand building, or some other. So let me give you just a few more seconds to enter your answers. Again, which of these is the key driver for an EBPP system at your organization? And it looks like our clear leaders are increasing customer satisfaction and reducing operating costs, and I don't think that'll come as a surprise to anybody, including our next speaker. And our next speaker is Thad Hinnant. He is Vice President of Sales at MajescoMastek. He has spent 30 years in the P&C industry, involved in aspects from insurance, education, product development, delivery, as well as sales and sales management. Thad was recently recognized at the 2009 IASA conference as IASA's National Chapter Volunteer of the Year. So congratulations on that, Thad, and let me just hand it to you.
Thanks, Sarah. It's good to be with you. As you heard in my introduction, I've been in this industry for 30 years now. In this time, I've seen at least 3 generations of technology and applications and the different processes they were intended to allow. First, we had mainframes. Most of us knew them as green screen. We were really taking a process that was a total manual process and using big iron to solve some of the processes for us, to have it on a database that was a little more accessible than paper. But it's really aimed at an entry processor type of person. But the important thing was we were on the road to it, on the technology road. Next, we had client server. The client server was really designed for that customer service rep who was often speaking to a customer on the telephone line, getting their input, assisting them by entering, by changing, by correcting their data, but it was still inside the company. Now we have web-based technology. A whole change. It allows us to have self-access. Now, when we want it, and in sophisticated systems, how we want it. This is tremendous power. Electronic bill presentment and payment is the perfect example of how we can really become more engaged in this technology at the right time. Now, in the retail space, it goes without saying that you're going to have this. I mean, when's the last time you went to a bank that didn't allow online payment, online bill payment, online banking? And the users aren't just the 20 and 30-year-olds. And I totally agree with Karlyn that as the demographics change, we're going to have more and more users. But I can tell you from personal experience that 4 or 5 years ago when my bank came to me and asked me You know, did I want to use online banking? Well, in my house, my wife has always kind of paid the bills. She probably doesn't trust me as much, but I came to her and I said, you know, you can pay your bills online. And she laughed at me. She said, I've got a composition book, and I keep everything in it, and that's how I pay. Well, I can tell you that it didn't take really that long. Today, everything in our house is paid online. It's convenient. It's a change with benefits to the customer and the business. EBPP is that same thing. As you see from my agenda, we're going to look through some of the key drivers for EBPP, looking at how we develop a business case, what to look for in that standalone solution, the key steps to watch for during the implementation, key business function to look for, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about us, MajescoMastek. So, Karlyn, you heard her talk about the benefits of a standalone EBPP solution, and I'm not going to say that word a lot anymore, EBPP. But as the leaders in billing, we at MajescoMastek totally agree with Karlyn. The idea of a standalone billing solution is an idea that we all had to come to, and that's exactly why we developed one. Now, some of the key benefits of an EBPP solution is that you can really slash the call volumes, and you do this by enabling the self-access. Now, we've already talked about the fact that self-access really provides benefits way beyond the cost, but the cost savings to us not having to staff those positions are great. This is a real positive. You know, some of the estimates say that as much as 70% of telephone-based customer support is about billing. So we have a huge bucket of expense that we can look at, to reduce, and have real bottom-line support for the company. We have the opportunity to provide cross-selling and upselling opportunities, and this is getting in our greatest asset. Our greatest asset are our customers, and these are the customers we want to sell to. As Karlyn mentioned, these aren't the customers who are having claims. These are the customers that are doing something we really like. They're the customers that are paying us. So we have an opportunity to provide messages to them that allows us to cross-sell and upsell. We can really drive our costs down, as high as 30 to 50% savings. Now, this is primarily related to reducing printing, collating, and mailing. Well, there's another aspect, too. I don't know how many of you have walked through your mail room when all the mail is coming in. Now, straight out of college, I actually worked in the mail room of a insurance company in South Carolina, and I can tell you that when the mail came in, the processes that went on were hectic at best. Well, today we have a lot of advantages. We have equipment, we have sorting and opening equipment and such, but it is still a hectic process, and there's a lot of chance to save money there. As we're saving this money, Go Green is a huge move for all of us now. It's popular. The whole idea of getting into environmentalism, it's something that we can all do that's not only a plus for us, a plus for the environment. We can save a tree, or for some of our cases, we can save a forest. And this is all dollars to the bottom line. The solution also has larger windows, which allows us to capture more information about the customer. We can do it in a reduced period of time, this billing information. It reduces the payment receipt times. And what this does is it really reduces the efforts of our agents, our agencies, and our customer service reps. And it makes our companies not only more attractive, but more profitable. So what are some of the items that should be considered in developing your business case? Well, you really need to look at your internal and external environment. Look at your corporate strategy. How does this fit within your strategy? Can it help facilitate this strategy? Look at your competition. Is this something that you need to catch up to what your competition has? Is it a difference maker that's going to allow you to separate yourself from your competition? Do you really need this now, either to catch up or to get ahead? You need to quantify your touch points, IVR, emails, outputs, and their costs. You need to understand this. Look at the cost savings. We just talked about reducing the paper, but the processing, the reductions in our support staff, reducing everything that has to do with this bill production cost. It all needs to be quantified. We also need to account for the fact that it can have a very positive impact on our revenue from the cross-selling, as we were talking about, as well as the fact as adding up and keeping customers. Customer retention is a huge part. We're going to have customers that this is how they want to do business, so keep those good paying customers of ours. You can also have a very aggressive adoption program. I think you'll see that as the demographics change and as more people become more and more comfortable, maybe through their retail experiences and such, that you can really start to see more and more people move into this, and we can reap the advantages of cost savings and of customer satisfaction. So what do we look for in a standalone EBP solution? Scale. We just talked about the fact that as people start to become more and more comfortable with this, we're going to have increasing numbers, so it's got to be scalable. It's also got to have ease of integration. Now, all of us would love to have a new billing system. All of us would love to stay in a new billing system, but you don't have to have that. The standalone EBPP system has to be capable of interfacing to your existing billing systems as well as any other legacy systems that are out there. It's got to be secure. None of us are going to trust our credit card numbers or anything else to something that's not secure. So it's got to have rich security features. It's got to have error-proof processing, and it's really got to have high privacy standards. It's got to have advanced tools, FAQs, chat tools, IVRs, all those things that make the user experience better, the easy adoption tools. And it's got to have the right technology. What is the right technology? Well, it needs to be browser agnostic. It needs to use Web 2.0 so you can have that rich user interface. It enables things like drag and drop of columns. It's got to easily and integrate with all other systems. I know I've said that, but it is a huge point. The ability to go in and interface to your legacy billing system or systems, as well as your downstream systems, all the other systems. And you got to have access to all of the aggregators, not just a Biller Direct site, but distribution to CheckFree, to Spectrum, to CyberBills, to PayTrust, to MasterCard, RPPS. All of those components are things that need to be in that standalone solution. So what are some of the key steps to look for during implementation? Well, you need to look internally. You have to decide whether you have the correct resources in-house to do what you need to do. Are you working on big iron still? Are you working on green screens? Or are you back on client-server technology? Well, you need people that understand web services. You have to decide where this falls. Does it fall in your billing area? Is it under your e-commerce area? Who's going to manage this project? And even though it's only a 3 or 4 month project, you really do need a project plan. There's a lot of systems to be connected to. You've got to create that product plan, and you've got to follow it. Security, again, we keep coming back to this, but I don't know about you, but the first time I had to put my credit card information online, I really thought about it. Today we do it more often, but people have to feel utterly secure that when they put that credit card information, that account number out there, that it's going to be guarded and that it's going to be stored and guarded correctly. So security is a huge part. You've got to tie the implementation to define project objectives. It's really possible to have a successful project that doesn't meet the business objectives. Now, I can think back a number of years ago when I was working on the implementation, and part of the project, part of the ideas, one of the challenges they had asked us to do was take all of the output, and rather for it to be the standard 8.5 inches wide, everything wanted to be 7 inches wide. So we went through, we spent thousands of dollars, probably tens of thousands of dollars the customer spent making everything 7 inches wide, and we accomplished that. All of the output fit the sizes and the objectives of what the customer wanted. Only afterwards did we talk a little bit more about why we had done this, and it turns out that a number of years before, the customer had a storage area where all of the output was stored, and it was only 7 inches wide, and they really didn't want to change that. So we had spent tens of thousands of dollars, the customer had, to really essentially obligate not buying a new filing cabinet. So you really have to look and make sure what your business objectives are. It may have been a little extreme example, but you need to know what the objectives are. So what are some of the key business functions? Well, right at the very top, you see large letters, red type, real-time interface. There's so many potential actions occurring here that it's got to be real-time. I mean, we're verifying credit card information. We're looking at the dollars in the accounts. We're posting to other systems. All things, the timing is crucial. Delay in timing. We're trying to have money that we know is good, so when we hit a credit card, we've got to verify it. We're trying to make sure that if a person is using some type of payment either from a debit card or from their account, that the money is there. We've got to have the real-time interface to the billing systems, to other systems. Very important. You've got to have support for single bill and account bill policies. The customer wants to see how he's being billed. If he's got an account view, he needs to be able to see that. It's very important that customers can register for e-bills and recurring payments and view their payment history and do all the other things associated with the user profile. User profile, it's common today. I don't know about you, but when I use online, whether it's at an airline or whether it's at a hotel or whether it's any other place online, I have several credit cards that are stored out there, and I can pick which one I'm using. I have several accounts that may be out there, so I can pick which one's using. Even language. I don't know if you're using multilingual today. I don't know if you have that desire, but your customer may want to. And if you can have the ability to change from English to Spanish or French or whatever within the system, that is a key business function that you may be able to separate yourself from. You need to be able to change your payment plans. If you're on a three-pay plan and you want to go to a 6-pay or a monthly pay, you need to have that ability. Secure transactions. We keep coming back to this. But security is an essential part of any system. You've got to be sure that you're protecting everything that's out there for your customer. Your customer is not going to use it. Multilingual, multi-currency, as we said, multilingual may or may not, as multi-currency, may not be options that you're offering today, but there's something that you really ought to be aware to see if your customer would really like that. Customer needs to be able to see all of the policies and all the accounts they have with you. They need to be able to review their installment schedule, see what's upcoming, not just what they're going to pay now, but see what's upcoming to them. These are all crucial functions that you need to look for. Okay, so I tell you up front, I'm going to tell you a little bit about us. We're called MajescoMastek. We're part of the Mastek group. We at MajescoMastek, we have over 18 years of experience inside the U.S. PNC market. Mastek itself has over 26 years inside the insurance industry, over $200 million in revenue. STG Billing has 18 plus years, as I said, of experience, of functionality, all included in us. Now, one of the things that we're always most proud of inside MajescoMastek is that every project that we have ever started has gone live, 100% implementation record. I'm not sure there are any others that can sit here and say that and have it verified by their customers, but we're extraordinarily proud of what we have done within the industry and how we partner with our clients. In the past, we've brought many of the billing functions out of the closet. We're adding touch points that are very important, and EBPP is one of those very crucial touch points. It's not a big investment, but it can bring a huge ROI to you because you don't have to have a new billing system to take advantage of it. Just quickly to show you, this is one version of what we have done. Everything out here is customizable. You can present it any way you want. It uses all of the rich technology that's out there. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of what it can look like, what our existing EBPP looks like in one version. And as I said, it's totally changeable for you. I want to thank you for your time today, and I'm going to turn it back over to Era.
All right. Thanks so much, Thad. Thanks for that good information. Here's where you can reach Thad, by the way, if you have some additional questions you'd like to ask him offline. His phone and email are right there for you. And I'm going to give you a minute to take a look at those, and then I'm going to move on to a final polling question of you and our audience. And let's do that right now. Okay, so audience members, who is driving the EBPP decision making at your organization? Is it finance / accounting? Is it IT, customer service, operations, marketing, products, or maybe you really don't know? But we'd like a good guess there. So once again, who is driving the EBPP system decision making at your organization? Choices are finance and accounting, IT, customer service, operations, marketing, products, and don't know. Let me just give you a few more seconds for most of our votes to come in. Looks like our top ones. Finance and accounting is right up there, as our operations and marketing. Although it's spread over quite an area there. Very interesting. Very interesting. So it seems like a lot of areas would be invested and interested in such a decision. All righty. We thank you for joining us. We do have time for a few questions, so I'm going to ask those. Some questions did come in from our audience. So let's go to our first one. What is the retention impact from recurring payment options? What is the retention impact from recurring payment options?
Yeah, Era, I'm going to take this. This is Karlyn, and this question came from a comment that I made in my presentation about the impact of recurring payment options. When people don't have to think about making their payment, that the retention tends to rise. Now, what I'll tell you is I don't have a specific number for you. What I do have is some anecdotal comments from folks who have tried to take a look at this, and what they've said, different carriers have said, is that when they look at those customers who are on a recurring payment pattern and compare them to those customers who are not, that typically what I've heard are retention impacts from 1 to as high as 4-point difference. So that actually can be a fairly significant number. So I don't know that you can say that that will work in your organization. It's difficult to specifically isolate retention to one particular factor. But again, it's consistent with what you hear in other industries.
All right, good. Another question. Can you folks compare the cost of traditional paper bill payments to an electronic one?
I can take that, Era. In my experience, it usually costs somewhere between 65 cents to maybe $1 per bill to create and send hard copy bills, and we think it's 20 to 35 cents using EBPP, and maybe even less than that as you're getting into the email options such. Okay.
Another question. What can an insurer do to increase adoption of EBPP?
Well, Era, they're right that probably the toughest problem for EBPP up to now has been getting people to really get involved in it. The reality is that people really don't want paper. They don't want it sitting in their mailboxes. They don't want it sitting on the kitchen tables. They want to turn it off, and they want us to help them turn it off. I think one of the key things is delivering the documents to their email boxes, their inboxes, as opposed to them having to come search and download documents. Documents, even if they're being put in electronic form, if they have to search for it, it makes it much more difficult than us pushing it out to them. Offer them a choice of channels for online billing, enabling customers to sign up for recurring use, as Karlyn said, all the key functions helping to increase the adoption.
All right. I know we mentioned, obviously, as a benefit, increased revenue before, but the one questioner wants to know how specifically does EBPP help carriers in increasing revenue?
Well, I think Karlyn mentioned that as well. She talked about the fact that the solution actually helps us gain access to our customers' email boxes. And anytime you've got access to your customer in multiple ways, you can offer an opportunity to increase the brand awareness, to communicate about the growth of your company, to offer other products. You can send HTML email alerts with your logo. You can do a lot to get inside of their communication and allow them to see you and what you can do. You can also tailor it to them because you have a lot of their personal information and history, and you can make targeted offers to them. If you know that you have their homeowner's business or if you have their automobile business, and obviously if you have history that shows that they have 4 cars or a second property, then allows you to make targeted offers to them.
Alrighty, and I think that it was you who spoke several times about the security aspect of all this, and one questioner wants to know if you can elaborate on the security aspects in this system.
You know, you need to support real-time validation of all of the payments. I mean, that includes electronic checks. You're trying to reduce fraud, transaction errors. You're trying to increase your funding velocity. You've got to verify the routing and the account numbers. You've got secure processing through various gateways, through ACH debit, your credit card, but so much of it is making sure that the security that you have in place, you have that rich functionality so that you can online make sure that the information you have is accurate.
Okay, an interesting question here. Do most carriers email a PDF of the bill for EBP, or do they email a link to their website?
Yeah, that's a great question because the answer is yes. Clearly the issue is I'm going to send an email notification to the customer letting them know that their bill is ready, it's time for them to pay. And so the question then is, do you put a link within that email so it's very easy for the customer then to link back to the website, log into their account, and pay it? Or do you include a copy of the PDF within that? Well, virtually every carrier out there includes a link to the website. Some of them additionally email a copy of the PDF, but that's not a ubiquitous practice.
All right, interesting. We can squeeze one more in, and I guess this would be for you, Thad. Can you say a little more about the flexibility or options in the solution?
Sorry, I didn't have my mute off there.
Okay.
Once you have authentication at your site, the members, they can view, they can download, they can print their current bill or prior bill or in any of the formats they choose. PDF, image, HTML. They can make a one-time payment or they can set up recurring payments. It can be for a fixed amount. It can be through a third-party portal like Bill Matrix or Harbor Payments. Once it's complete, members receive a confirmation number to verify the payment and for later reference. You know, if questions arise, you can route them to a telephone-based payment channel or as a full-service payment call center or using IVR applications.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of our time for today, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank our speakers, Karlyn Carnahan of Novarica and Thad Hinnant of MajescoMastek. I want to thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today, for being patient with us, and for asking questions. So on behalf of MajescoMastek, Insurance Networking News, and Novarica, this is Ara Tremblay wishing you a pleasant day.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes